Are you ready for the next part of the Kundalini energy series? This is part 3. All right. Well, let's go into some definitions here, and we'll start with this picture right here. Okay. And it is right there. Wow! A sudden rush of energy. This is where we left off on part 2. Some of the Kundalini experiences can be like a sudden rush of energy, okay? And it can be at random hours of day or night if we're not keeping regular hours. You know, if you're keeping a regular pattern of sleep, you're going to bed at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, then it's less likely that it's going to be random for you. But it can happen, and it's a little disorienting. So some of the other things can be changes in sleep patterns when your Kundalini energy is rising and it's not being channeled. You know, like it's not being regularly expressed through the spinal column, which is what most of the Kriyas do. So you often, when your Kundalini energy is active, you require less sleep. I know that's the case for me. When I first started regular practice, I was getting about 8 hours of sleep, like most everybody. And once my regular sadhana kicked in early in the mornings, and I'd gone a year of not breaking the practice, then my sleep went from 8 hours to 5. And it never went back because I never did slow down my sadhana. And so I was able to get along pretty good on that. So it's amazing how it makes good use of your energy. When we're channeling more prana with a regular practice, so we can begin to wake up at 3 or 4 a.m., which is the best time for replenishing prana through the practice. Being able to sleep well is one of the first things a new student notices whenever they've been practicing regularly, right off the bat. They start to find they can relax deeply. And so if you're sleeping deeply, you need a little less sleep. You spend less time tossing and turning and getting down to the slow wavelengths, you know, delta. Our normal wavelengths of energy during the day are beta, and it's like having a conversation or making a shopping list, right? And you slow down and relax more with the deep breathing, and you're into alpha. And then you slow down still more in a meditative practice. And most people are in a delta pattern when they sleep, or lower still. And it takes some doing to get to that state often for lots of people. And the sleep medication market is booming because people get desperate when they can't get their sleep. So it's really important. Okay, for some people, Kundalini experiences can result in headaches. And why is that? Why is that? For some people, it's if their energy is way up and way down, and they're sensitive to light or sounds, headaches are inevitable. But your Kundalini energy, when you're working with a Kundalini Kriya, if you're already in a state where you're sensitive to that, it's best to wear a head covering. It can help to channel that because it holds pressure points together on the scalp, on the skull. You know, the skull is made of plates that float around a bit, and we have a soft spot here called the fontanelle. And a head wrap can help a whole lot in channeling that energy. if you find that you're having headaches with it. Okay? So, and that goes for the pain in the neck or spine many times too. So, you'd have to just experiment with that and try doing a Kriya without a head covering and then do the same Kriya with the head covering and see how it is for you to know for sure. All right, many people feel very connected to nature after doing Kriya for a while. A sense of oneness can happen. You can just fall into a deep sense of oneness and empathy for all creatures. And it's a very sweet place to be, especially if you're able to do your yoga outside and really get the full experience of feeling the energy of all life around you. You know, when you're in a forest, there's a wall of life, you know. You can, all of the insects and all of the birds and creatures and the plants are all exuding energy, and you can really get into it and feel it when you have a deep practice. All right, so some of the other things that happen when we have a Kundalini practice and we're working with that energy, right, or have a Kundalini experience, sometimes without a practice, you can find that your intuition increases, and it seems like it just comes out of nowhere, right? But things are channeling correctly when your intuition is increasing. The intuition tends to be more strong when you're working with the pituitary gland and the pineal gland, and this energy is going up the spine so it can connect with these two glands, the master glands. Your ability to perceive what others feel or think also comes more easily when you work with this energy. You tend to have a relaxation, so you're not shielding, for one thing, and you tend to have a more openness about receiving energy that's around you. So it's a beautiful practice to work with. Capacity to sharpen extrasensory perception comes from developing a meditative mind. And this is all meditations that help with this, all meditations. The Buddhist practices have a long history of sharpening ESP that comes with their practice. And it's not guaranteed, of course, but it's funny, it's remarkable how often it happens with a long practice. Okay, so we'll go on to the next group of definitions. Sometimes we have a temporary sense of oneness and we want to get back into that. Where did it go? Where did it go? And so people seek out a teacher trying to get that sense back. And, you know, it's kind of like a lightning strike. When we do the practice, so it will make it more likely that you'll have an experience like that. But you never know when it's going to happen. You never know. So the more you practice, the more likely it will. Another thing that happens often with Kundalini experiences is a sense of detachment. Like we're not so reactive to life. Like things don't trigger us and make us so angry immediately or even happy immediately. The range of emotions tends to be more balanced, and there's more of almost a time lag, and it's not a detachment like you don't feel things. You still feel it, but you don't feel the need to jump to a reaction when you're practicing regularly. So working with that energy can make it more sustained, more level, and people will notice, you know, the difference in your eyes and the difference in your reactions when you're working with community. All right. Kundalini experiences change your blood chemistry. They certainly do. And that's what makes us feel so good. You know, we when you're doing a chant, when you're going along and working with something that's coming from your heart, like the Waheguru chant, and your experience, your tongue is hitting the roof of the mouth, right? Waheguru, 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 Waheguru. And you could just keep going, keep going, keep going. And the tongue is triggering these spots on the roof of the mouth. The meridians are firing, right? Your energy is moving up and signaling to the pineal gland and the pituitary gland that the glands need to change their blood chemistry. And so this shower of hormones and peptides come down from the brain after being triggered in this way. And the fluids come down through the lymph system and get flushed out, and all the old signatures of anxiety and pain that you were feeling minutes before you started your meditation can get completely flushed out. And then new chemistry is created. It's amazing how it works. And you could come into a yoga class feeling really crappy and then get your blood chemistry changed, and it's like it's a whole new world. So it does. And it also changes your oxygen. So often this activates an immune response. It's, of course, not every time, and it's different with different people, but it's common to have your immune response activated because you tend to get more oxygen in the blood, for one thing. You can even test that on one of those oximeters. You can put one on. I've done this often where I would put it on and it would say something like 95, and then I do breath of fire for 5 minutes, even 2 minutes. I've seen a change where it goes on up to 98. And it's not adding oxygen into your system, it's just dumping carbon dioxide. So more oxygen is available, which boosts the immune system. So it's a beautiful thing. Beautiful. All right, spontaneous Kundalini experiences can be disorienting. Truly, when that energy just rises up all of a sudden, and your blood chemistry has changed, and that's why we work with it as a yoga practice, so it can be systematically, slowly raised, little at a time, and you keep your balance with it, and it's not so disorienting that way. But it can often bring up subconscious feelings that will have to be processed. And when it's bringing up subconscious feelings, you may feel crappier, really, before you feel better. And lots of people really get discouraged at this point, and that's why they need a teacher, to let them know, yeah, everybody goes through that. You may do a kriya where maybe it's for inner anger, this kriya, and it brings up anger, and so you're going, why do I feel this way? I don't want to feel this way. So it's good to go on through the whole kriya and finish it, get to the meditation, so you can get the release from it, get on to where it brings you to next. But when we're having these spontaneous Kundalini experiences, you're just stuck with what you're stuck with. If you don't know to go on and use a practice that will shift you out of that. So that's why we have the practices we have. All right, we're getting down to the end of this session. We're cleaning out the subconscious mind, and often it creates a youthful experience. Well, how about that? Probably because your stress goes whoop out through the chemical signatures, you know, through the glands. And the more water you drink, right, the more you can flush it the rest of the way out. So that's what I want. So anyway, that's a little bit about Kundalini energy and Kundalini experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the beautiful. And I hope that you've learned a little something, and you have a place and a person to talk to about this. So check out our website at yogalotusok.com and see what kind of classes we have to offer, okay? And there's a free workshop coming up that will be all about, well, Kundalini energy. So check it out. And I hope to see you down the road. Okay? All right. You guys have a good evening, and I'll talk to you later.